Hi everyone. Today we are going to go over some top tips for sight reading. I had a question from a follower and I just wanted to follow up with his question by using a video as a tool for his success, and hopefully it can help you as well. So there are 6 main tips for sight reading music, and these 6 tips work if you practice sight reading regularly. So I'm going to start off with the very first one. Choose a song that is at your level or slightly below your level. So we're not talking about Mary Had a Little Lamb, unless that's where you're at. We're talking more along the lines of if you've been able to play Ode to Joy with chords, you want to pick something similar, like Alouetta with chords, for an example. For demonstration purposes, I have pulled out 2 books today. This one is called Broadway and Movie Hits, and inside is the song Goodnight My Someone from The Music Man. And so we're going to start with the first tip of picking a song that is at or slightly below your level. So most of my students are at what we call beginner or late beginner stages. I have 2 early intermediate players out of my bunch right now, but just kind of select something that's in your comfort range. So this is a pretty simple tune for beginning pianists. Things that you will want to have learned are for sure flats and endings and repeat signs and sharps and naturals and the middle C hand position, just as an example. So now that I've selected my song, we're going to go to step number 2. In step number 2, we are going to identify on the pages any special instructions. So repeats, DCL finés, del segnos, codas, codettas, etc. Anything that involves a direction of where we're going and where we're moving. We need to know how many pages and when and where if we're going back pages, forward pages, etc. Here's our song, Goodnight My Someone, and we can tell right away that there's an instruction for a bouncing repeat sign. I call these bouncing because you bounce between them and you go back, kind of like a rubber band, right? Here's the start of the rubber band, here's the end of the rubber band, kaboing, back, we bounce back. So this means that when we reach the end of this line, we have a repeat sign. We are going to go all the way back to the beginning, but we're going to skip that first pickup note, and we're going to start right here on beat 1. We're going to play again, but this time we're going to skip over the first ending, and we're going to jump all the way to the second ending. So from right here, we are going to jump all the way down here and play till the end. So once this measure is complete, we're going to have that B flat, D, and then we'll start our new measure here. So I have 2 pages total that I will be playing off of. Now for step 3. Step number 3 is clapping or tapping the rhythm so that you can feel the beats. If you can feel them on your body or your body doing them, such as clapping, then you can replicate that with fingers on the piano. So you need your hands and a surface to tap on, or if you'd like to clap, I always pat on my legs. Okay, we're ready to practice the rhythm. So the rhythm is the length of the notes, and we are going to practice today, and I'll show you 2 different ways that you can practice. The first is clapping. So clapping with the beat where the song has a melody that's moving. So in this song, our melody moves between the left and right hand, okay? So we can clap it, and it's helpful to say the words to the song if they have words. If not, it's also helpful to clap your time signature. So check your time signature before you start. In this case, we start in 3/4 time with a pickup of 1 beat. So that means an incomplete measure, which is made up for at the end of the song. So that's beat number 3. So we want a silent count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the first line. The second way you can do that option is to say the words, good night, my someone, good night, my love, sleep tight, my someone, sleep tight, my love. Kind of gives you a feel for how it's going. My preferred choice, and the one that I usually teach my students aside from clapping, that I have them do regularly, especially when we have two hands playing music at the same time together, is the patting method, where we pat on our legs, right hand, left hand. So for the right hand and left hand part, okay, you can do the counting, you can do the words, whichever works best, but we're just gonna pat for right hand and left hand. So we're gonna start the song on left hand because that is who plays the very first note. Good night, my someone, good night, my love. Good night, my someone, sleep tight, my love. Very simple. You can also speed it up as you get comfortable with that rhythm. That is what I want all students to do, and that is the second great tip about, we're on the third tip. That is the third great tip about sight reading, is to practice the rhythm before you start. The fourth great tip for sight reading is to find the key signature and then to play that scale with the primary triads. Now, it's okay if you don't know how to play a scale yet. Scales I don't usually assign until we're in level 2, where we're starting to do them frequently. So early beginners don't typically do scales in modern method. That's more classical method, but if you want to do the scale, awesome. So you're gonna play your C to C. So for this song, we are actually in the key of F major, not C major. And you probably wouldn't know that unless your teacher told you that if you're a beginning student. But the reason why we are in F major is because we are starting and ending on F major chords, and we are solely using the notes out of the F major scale. I know this because all of the B's are flat, okay, which is a dead giveaway. In the key of F major, all B's are flat. But there's no key signature up here. You're just going to assume C major. I mean, C is related to F, so it's not a bad idea to play the C scale, but in this case, practicing the F major scale is much more helpful. So if you go to your piano or keyboard, your F major scale starts with F, G, A, B flat. Then you tuck your thumb under and you play C, D, E, F. That is an F major scale. Now the other option, or second option you could do, is to play the hand position your hands will be in. So if you're not familiar with major scales, minor scales, scales at all, just put your hands down in the position that it suggests. In this case, left hand thumb will be on C, right hand middle finger on F. So right hand will be right here, okay? And your left hand will be right here. So you're gonna go through and play those notes, F, G, A, B flat, C for the left hand. And then your right hand will play D, E, F, G, A. Those are the notes that are going to appear in your song. Those are the fingers that are on those keys. You can also practice saying the finger numbers if that's helpful. After you've done that, you can also do primary triads if you know primary triads. So a primary triad is a chord that starts on the scale with the first note being the first note of the scale, and then we just skip up to the third and the fifth. So in this case, this is your one chord for F major, an F major chord, F-A-C. Okay, that is one of the primary triads. And just like primary colors, music has 3 primary triads. In every key signature, we build a chord on the first note of the scale, the 4th note of the scale, and the 5th note of the scale. And those are the chords that are going to be primary. So FAC for the F chord, okay? And then B flat D F, this is the 4 chord, okay? It's also primary. And starting on C, the C, E, G chord. So we're going to use all 3 of those chords in our primary triad play. So what we do is we play the 1 chord, we rearrange this 4 chord so it's easier to grab. So instead of having B flat on the bottom, I'm going to have F on the bottom because we played B flat D F. I am going to play F B flat D out of order because it's more comfortable and easier to grab. This is called progression. We progress to B flat, and then we play the 5 chord or the C major chord, which is this C, E, G. But again, we're going to rearrange it so our left hand can play it better. Okay, and in this case, C, G, E, we can do it this way. We can also play it as a 5-7 chord, which is when we add a 7th onto the chord. So instead of having the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes, we also add a 7th note on there. 1, 3, 5, 7. In this case, in a C scale, this is our 7th chord. In order to play it here and make it easy to play, we're going to play C, E, take out the G because it's just going to be awfully awkward, and play the B flat. It's not that much different than and it sounds just fine by itself without that G in there. So this is 5-7. So the way you play primary triads is 1, 4, 1, 5, 7, 1. So you can play your little scale, okay, whichever way you want to do it, your hand position or the actual scale, and then practice the primary triads. You can do them in each hand, F, B flat, F, C7, F. Okay, that is the full 3rd step. Step number 5 is to scan through the entire piece of music and look for key details that you don't want to miss. For example, remember our song has flats, sharps, and naturals. We want to make sure that we are prepared to play those notes. In addition to that, we want to look for things like slurs, staccatos, accents, fermatas, anything that looks like it needs a little bit of attention. Don't forget dynamics. Those are included in this. We want to capture as much information about the piece of music before we sight read it. Okay, so the way I go through it is I look for all of the major details. So we start in 3/4 time with a pickup on beat 3, and we're going to start piano, which is softly. Our tempo is 126 beats per minute. In a sight read, you can try it at that pace, but I always encourage people to try it a little less in a comfortable speed, maybe work up to this. But unless you are at a competition, sight reading at a competition, you do not need to sight read at this speed. So pick something comfortable. And then it has the instruction to play this song smoothly. Well, if we look through, there's no slurs added. So it must mean that we want to play this song quite smoothly as if there were slurs. Our dynamic changes here to mezzo forte. And then over here, we change to piano. And then here we have a diminuendo in the second ending. When we come back over here, we got to remember it was piano. So we're going to play softly, increase our volume again, okay? And then here we're going to decrease our volume all the way down, okay? So the other things that you want to look for, I don't see very much of. I just see a flat, a natural and a sharp sign, a flat and a flat. We do have some ties. Those are not slurs, so you don't need to necessarily worry about them unless you struggle with them. Now let's go on to step 6. Step 6 is when you play the entire piece from start to finish. Even if you make mistakes, doesn't matter. Start it and finish it and try to get as much out of it as you can. Try to have the right rhythm, the right volume, the right articulations, the right tempo, and just go. My final thoughts as a teacher and professional for, oh goodness, close to 40 years now, is always remember that in your head you should be counting. So whatever is happening, even if you make a mistake, don't forget your time signature. It's going to keep you on the path, on track. And you can also use the metronome to back you up. So don't let yourself just get all jumbled in here. Don't clear your mind and just be empty up there. Something will be bound to happen. And you'll have to mark those areas as things to remember, because once we make a mistake, we are more likely to repeat that mistake in the future. So if we can play it as correctly as possible at first, we're going to have better success each time. Also, in addition to this, these 6 tips are great, but you need to be practicing sight reading every day that you can. It can be something short, simple, and sweet. It can be something complex, some goal piece that you want to work on. That doesn't even matter. Now we're going to see a more difficult piece, and I'm going to run through the process, those 6 tips from start to finish for you. Okay, so now we are going to pat the rhythm to Irish Wedding Dance from Level 4 Lesson Book, Alfred's Basic Piano Library. So my right hand's going to pat the right hand part. My left hand is going to pat the left hand part. Okay, so I'm patting. Now, one of the things that you can do, again, is you can count out loud or say the words to the song. In this case, there are no words, so I am going to simply count, okay? I'm gonna go a little bit slower because I tend to get tongue-tied when I count in 6 and not 4. Just funny thing I do. Okay, ready? 5, 6, 1, 3, 4, 6, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 3, 4, 6, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 3, 4, 6, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I could keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, etc. Okay, so I could keep going. This is just merely for demonstration purposes, but go through the whole song if you can. If it's a super long song, just pick a chunk, maybe the beginning chunk, and start practicing that, and then look and see if there's more difficult sections. Isolate those and practice those. Okay, now we are moving on to step 3, which is step 4, which is practice the key signature, scale, and primary triads. So if I look at the very beginning of my music, I have no key signature. So one of 2 things is going on. We are either in the key of C major or we are in the key of A minor. I can figure this out by looking at the starting chord. The chords we keep returning to seem to be that same chord. Here it is broken up. Here it is broken up again. And go through and then look at your ending chord. Okay, we are in the key of A minor, not C major, because we start on an A minor triad, we end on an A minor triad over here. So now The important thing on this to do is to identify which scale your song is using, because there are 3 types of minor scales. So if you look through, there are no sharps and flats. So we are in natural minor. So I'm going to play the A minor natural scale. And then the chords, the primary triads, 1 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5, 7, 1. In this case, the 5 chord is actually this, which is really rare, but we don't use that we don't use the defining note. So it's kind of open-ended. It sounds like G major. So we briefly visit G major. Yeah, we don't use this 5/7 part, okay? So that said, I have practiced that. Now I'm gonna scan my music for the important extras, okay? Number 1, we are in 6/8 time. We are intended to go allegro, which is quickly. So that is 120 beats per minute to 168 beats per minute. I'm comfortable playing it at 144 to 168. So I'll play it a little slower, especially since I haven't seen this in a while. You don't want to go full steam on a sight read, unless, like I said, you're at a competition or doing an exam. The other things that I'm noticing is we start 8 VA, both hands, and then we come down on line 3. We have pedals starting lines 3 and 4. And it continues all the way through the song except for the ending. So no pedal, no pedal, no pedal. Okay, so that's important. But we also, right here, we go back up to 8 VA before we repeat. And then in our second ending, our final note in the left hand is 8 VA below, or 8 VB. Okay. I'm also noticing we are accenting certain notes throughout the song. There are staccatos to be aware of, huge slurred groups that we want to make sure that we connect, okay? And left hand bounces between treble clef and bass clef. And that's just because we're going to cross over. We're going to play the A minor arpeggio, A, C, E, A, C, E, C, A. So we're going to cross over. And then we're going to come back down, C, C, B, A, and then we're going to do the G arpeggio, G, B, D, G, B, D, G. So we're going to cross over briefly, and we're going to get kind of like a little rhythm going back and forth for this section. We have a big dynamic change over here. We were mezzo forte and piano. Now we're going to be forte, and we are just going to basically bang right here a little bit, and then we're going to bang a little bit harder in this final section. Now, important things to note is that we have to jump after the return to this section, and then it says vigorously. So that means from our allegro, we would increase our speed a little bit, and we would want to be very nimble, da 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 da, because it's going up and down pretty quickly. So vigorously means put some energy into it. We just came from fortissimo, so continue that because there's no other direction. And then there's an accent on the final note with a fermata. So we are really going to bang the last note. Okay, so I've scanned the music pretty well. So I'm going to keep an eye out for those major things. Now it's time to play the song. So I hope you enjoyed that. The last thing that I want to make sure that you guys remember is sight reading starts with practicing every time you get an opportunity. So make sure at least you're doing it weekly, if not daily. You can invest in something like a sight reading improvement method. This method here is by Faber Music, Paul Harris. It's a revamped edition of an old version. And inside, it has a little practice record for you. It explains what is happening in the book. And then on every set of 2 pages, there is going to be information. This is stage 1, and these are the things that you need to know in the shaded gray box. So if you're questioning, is this the right method for me? You may want to look at the back and say, oh, I don't know 8th notes yet. So this could be a good book for me because I'm going to learn them soon. As you can see, you start off with tons of quarter notes and quarter rests, so that would be helpful. Also, these books give you lots of exercises to do. In this case, you're going to practice these rhythm patterns, and then you are going to have pieces right here. You are going to sight read, okay? But this says you're going to also do an exercise where you write the rhythm underneath on the rhythm line, okay? Seems redundant, yes, but it's supposed to help you. And then you sight read through these. And the second set of pages, you prepare some pieces. So when you practice these, you're supposed to remember them. That way, when you go back to the lesson, you've improved from sight reading these the first time, practicing some similar ones, and then playing them for the teacher. The methods like this can be helpful for some people, but in the end, it really is about you taking music and playing it on first sight. All you have to do is take in all of this basic information, maybe practice it a little, and then go from start to finish. This is going to give you insight into where you're having struggles in your playing, maybe in your lesson. Maybe your teacher is saying, you're not counting your rhythm in these 2 measures every time you slow down, so we need to keep it a tempo. Maybe something like that. So it can show you where your weaknesses are. But the great thing about sight reading music is you get better and you improve over time. Now, I've been playing since I was 2 years old. I am 43 this year. Not yet, but soon, very soon. So if you kind of think about that and you take that into account, yes, I'm a very good sight reader. I studied under a teacher in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I also played another instrument. I joined other groups. I was listening to music constantly. I still listen to music constantly. I practice it. I even went to college and studied it. So it does take time to get very good at sight reading, but you can improve your sight reading within just 1 to 2 years by making sure that you practice these tips every day or at least weekly. I hope that this helps you. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them down in the comments. These are my tips that I give my students at Cushman Music, and I hope that you have a fabulous rest of your day.